Okay, in a world that's being completely reshaped by AI, it feels like the ground is shifting right under our feet. But what if I told you that the single most important skill for thriving in this new era has nothing to do with coding or algorithms? Nope, it's all about rewiring your own brain. Let's get into it.
So to really feel the urgency here, we have to start with this idea called skills half-life. I want you to think of all your professional skills like a battery that's just constantly losing its charge. The half-life is simply how long it takes for that battery to get down to 50% power, for half of what you know to be totally out of date.
And here's the kicker. AI and automation are causing that half-life to shrink, and I mean shrink fast. The skills that make you an absolute rock star today might be the bare minimum, or even completely irrelevant in just a few years. So if you're standing still, you're actually falling way behind.
Which brings us to the one question that should be on all of our minds right now. If the knowledge you have stored in your head is a depreciating asset, how do you stay valuable? How do you even compete? Well, the answer isn't about knowing more stuff, it's about learning faster.
To do that, we first have to get our heads around how skill is actually built, because it's not some kind of magic, and it's definitely not about natural gifts. It's a physical process, a mechanical one, that happens right inside your brain.
You know, we hear it all the time, right? Oh, he was born to do it, or it's in her blood. But according to neuroscience, that's just not true. Skills aren't gifts we're born with, they are literally circuits that we build in our brains. They're not born, they're built.
And the secret ingredient in this whole process is a substance called myelin. Just think of it like the insulation that wraps around an electrical wire. The more you use a specific brain circuit, the more myelin wraps around it. And what does that do? It makes the signal faster, smoother, more accurate. It is literally like upgrading your brain's wiring from old-school dial-up to fiber optic broadband.
So the process is actually beautiful in its simplicity. First, you just try something. You attempt a skill, and a specific pathway in your brain fires up. Then, you practice. You fire that same circuit again and again and again. This sends a signal to your brain basically saying, hey, this one's important, and that triggers cells to wrap that pathway in more and more layers of myelin. The result? The skill gets faster, better, and eventually it becomes second nature.
And hey, this isn't some new age discovery. Aristotle knew this thousands of years ago. We become builders by building, we become brave by doing brave things. The people who are better than you at something, they're better because they have fired those specific brain circuits more than you have, and they've built up more myelin. It really is that simple.
Okay, but if it's just a mechanical process, why does learning so often feel, well, so difficult, so uncomfortable? It turns out there's a battle going on inside your head, and the enemy is actually a part of your own brain.
To get this, you have to understand that we basically have two systems at play. You've got your human brain, the learning machine, that's curious and hungry for growth. But deep inside, you also have this ancient survival machine, the amygdala, which author Seth Godin brilliantly calls the lizard brain.
And this is where the conflict comes in. The lizard brain's only job is survival. It evolved to protect us from, saber-toothed tigers, so it is hardwired to fear risks, avoid change, and just fit in. It wants you to stay safe in your comfort zone. But here's the problem. Real learning requires the exact opposite. It demands that we make mistakes and step outside our comfort zone.
So how do we overcome this internal saboteur? Well, the antidote to the lizard brain's fear is this incredibly powerful tool uncovered by Stanford researcher Carol Dweck. It's called the growth mindset. And it all boils down to one simple but profound question that really defines our ability to learn. When you fail at something, how do you react? See, your answer reveals everything. If you have a fixed mindset, you believe your talent is what it is. Failure feels like a final judgment. I failed, I guess I'm just no good. So you start avoiding challenges. But with a growth mindset, you believe your abilities can be developed. So failure isn't a verdict, it's just feedback. It means I failed, okay, so I need to learn something here. It's incredible. Brain scans actually show that when faced with an error, the growth mindset brain lights up, ready to learn from the mistake. This is one of my all-time favorite examples of this in action. A high school in Chicago got rid of the F grade. Instead, if a student didn't pass, their grade was not yet. Just think about the power in that simple change. An F feels like a dead end, right? A brick wall. But not yet, that puts you on a journey, it tells you you're on a learning curve, and gives you a path forward.
So, here's the crucial insight. This isn't about killing your fear or somehow defeating your lizard brain. As Seth Godin says, trying to fight it just makes it stronger. You can't win that fight. Instead, you have to learn to dance with it.
You have to completely reframe that feeling of anxiety.
When your lizard brain starts freaking out, it's not a warning sign that you're about to fail. It's actually a signal that you're about to do something important, something brave. It's a sign that you're pushing your boundaries, that you are right on the verge of growth.
So, the big takeaway here is this. That feeling of discomfort, of fear, it's not a stop sign. It's a compass. It's pointing you directly toward the things you most need to learn.
And that brings us right back to where we started. In an age where AI can know pretty much anything, your value isn't based on what you already know. Your superpower, your true, durable competitive advantage, is your ability to learn.
We can call this learning velocity. It's how fast you can pick up something new, apply it, and adapt. That's the whole game now. Your true competitive advantage is no longer what you know, but how fast you can learn. That is the meta skill for this century.
And the best part? This is a muscle that you can actually build. It starts with a few small shifts. You reframe challenges as opportunities. You get really, really comfortable saying, I don't know this yet. You start to seek out that feeling of discomfort because you now know that's what learning feels like. And you reward the effort, not just the perfect outcome.
So, we end right where we began. The most important skill you can have in the age of AI has absolutely nothing to do with technology. It's about a deep willingness to try, to struggle, and to get back up again. So the only real question left for you, for your career, is this: what will you learn next?